Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday and welcome to the Get Unstuck series with myself, Sarah Archer. I am a career and leadership coach and I run these live sessions every Wednesday at 12:15. And as usual, my dog has started barking right as I'm going live. And they are designed to be short, impactful, and packed with useful tips, tools, inspiration, information for you to make progress in your career, to have the kind of career success that you want that's right for you. So on a whole variety of topics, and obviously today's topic is a very important one. So it's how to negotiate your worth. So the session is going to be about 15 minutes or so, and I'm streaming live in LinkedIn and also in my Facebook group, the Love What You Do Lounge. So if you are here with me, if you are watching live, please do say hello, pop a little comment, let me know that you're here with me. Because I'm using StreamYard to host this session, you do need to give permission for them to share your name, otherwise I'll just see it as an anonymous hello. But it'd be lovely if you are watching with me just to let me know that you're here. And obviously if you're watching on replay, then do say hello as well. And the lives are always in my featured section on my LinkedIn profile and also in the guide section in my Facebook group. So you can always watch it later if you can't watch it now. So today's topic can feel quite difficult, can't it? You know, to ask for a salary pay rise or to negotiate a higher offer when you've been offered a job, higher salary when you've been offered a job. It can feel difficult, and often people, shy away from doing it. Miles, hello, nice to see you. So it's really important to kind of be prepared both practically, but also in terms of mindset around Julia. Hello, nice to see you as well. Also prepared in terms of your mindset. So what I'm going to take you through is 4 or 5 key things to bear in mind when you are about to do this. So the first thing is, what is driving your request? So really understanding, why am I needing to have more money, or why do I want to negotiate a higher salary at job offer stage? So is it because I'm not actually happy in doing what I'm doing at the moment? So often what happens is, if something's not working in our current job or our current organization, we can focus on the money side. You know, they're not paying me enough to take all this stress, or they're not paying me enough to deal with this kind of work. But actually the research shows that it's only money becomes that issue when other things aren't in place. So it's definitely worth really understanding, if it's because I'm not happy in my current role, what's not working for me, so that could actually lead you to take other action as well, which is a whole nother live, which I'm not going to get into now. But it's good to know, you know, is this desire to have more money because something else isn't working in my current job? Or is it because there's a change in responsibilities? Maybe you've been asked to take on a new project, or you've been given additional responsibilities, or the new potential job is going to be bigger, you know, that you actually want to have a higher salary to reflect that. Or is it about a need for recognition? So in your current job, feeling, actually, I'm not really being recognised for all the hard work I'm putting in, because not only does that drive your desire to have a pay rise, but also means you might need to have a conversation with your boss about recognition and getting the type of recognition that's going to keep you motivated in your existing job. Or could it be that you feel that actually what you're earning isn't comparable to other people in the organisation who are doing similar jobs? So that could be around gender, or it could be around knowing that actually less experienced colleagues who've come in after you've joined are earning higher salaries, and that sense of it's not being fairly distributed amongst the team. So really understanding what is driving your motivation, and also understanding what you would do with that extra cash. So if you're going to be asking for a significant amount of money, what would you do with it? Is it because you want to save more? Do you want to be able to have a bigger mortgage or buy a house? Is it about increasing your lifestyle, having better holidays, that kind of thing? Because that can also help your motivation to ask for more. Because sometimes we'll like put it off. We're like, okay, I'll do it next year, or I'll do it at appraisal, or I'll do it at the next opportunity. But really understanding, A, what's driving your motivation, and B, what you want to use that extra cash for, can really help to fuel your decision to take this action now and ask for a pay rise or negotiate a higher salary. So that's the first thing. The second thing is to do your research. So obviously, you can't just walk in and say, I want to be paid more because I'm feeling a bit undervalued at the moment. You want to be actually giving evidence to your employer so you can make it easy for them to say yes to you. So that's what we've got to be thinking about. I've got to collect research and evidence that mean my employer can actually say yes to my request. So I'm going to just run through a few ways you can do that, because sometimes this can feel a bit tricky, but you want to be able to do some benchmarking, and there's lots of different sources you can look at for the benchmarking piece. So there are sites like Glassdoor which will have salary information, not necessarily for all job types, but there certainly will be certain job types they'll have salary information for. So that's one option to look at. You can also look at adverts for similar jobs and see what are the kind of salaries that are being paid, what's the range of salaries that are being offered at the moment. But always bearing in mind that the jobs in adverts are starting salaries. So if your current salary is, significantly lower than some of those starting salaries, and you've been in your job for 3 to 4 years, that's giving you information about the fact that you are falling below the market rate. So looking at job adverts and collating that information can be really useful. Similarly, talking to people in your industry, which can maybe feel a bit uncomfortable because you can't say, oh, do you mind telling me what you're earning? But you could ask them if they know what the range is, the salary range, in their current employer for the type of job that you are doing or that you're being offered. You can also talk to HR. If you've got HR contacts, obviously they're closer to the salary ranges. So they're a really great source to understand what the salary range is in the industry in which you're working for, both your internal HR, but also if you've got HR contacts in the industry. Similarly, if you have a membership body, if you're a member of, say, the CIPD for HR professionals, or the financial bodies, marketing, fundraising, lots of different membership organizations. If you're in a part of that, they will have access to or information on salaries. So you can ring up or get in touch with the information office and ask them to release salary information to you. And you can also look at the competitors. So who is your employer's competitors, and look at what salaries they're offering for jobs in your area, because obviously that's going to be quite powerful for your employer to think about, okay, I need to stay competitive to retain and attract talent in my organization. So that's one thing that you can look at, or quite a few things you can look at. You can also look at gender pay reports. So organisations now that have over 250 headcount have to produce a gender pay report every year, and that is in the public domain. So you can certainly look at that. They will also have an action plan as a result of that gender pay report. So you can see what they've committed to in terms of ensuring parity between the genders. So that can also be part of your evidence gathering. So we've got, thinking about what's driving you, then we've got thinking about gathering evidence and information to be able to say, where am I in terms of the market, and, how far away am I from where I want to be? Then we want to prepare a business case. So this is super important when we're asking internally for a pay rise, but also when we're thinking about negotiating that job offer at that salary at job offer stage. We can use elements of the business case to justify why we think we deserve a higher salary at job offer stage. So preparing a business case obviously helps to take some of the emotion out of it, because and we're going to talk about the emotion and managing that, because it is emotional asking for a pay rise, because it feels a bit vulnerable, you're putting yourself out there. So preparing a business case helps to make it a little bit more factual and business evidence driven. So what we want to think about, though, is first of all, what do we want? What is the actual salary that we want to be asking for? And I would encourage you to be bold here, because this is your opportunity to renegotiate your salary or ask for a higher salary, and you want to be bold because they might negotiate you down and you don't want them negotiating you down from your minimum. So really thinking about what you want and also crunching the numbers. Okay, so if you're going to ask for a 5 or say 10k pay rise, what does that look like monthly? What does that look like after tax? And how motivated would that feel for you? So really kind of knowing, okay, maybe I'll only ask for a grand. That is going to be nothing after tax on your monthly salary. So really thinking about what do I want, what would make me feel good, and being aware that they might not say yes to your offer, they might negotiate you down. The second thing is to think about potential objections that they might have so that you can answer those objections in your business case. So what might they say as a reason why they can't give you this, and how can you navigate that? What solutions could you come up with? The third thing would be to think about demonstrating the value that you bring. So thinking about what you've delivered, what you've achieved over the last six months or so, and putting that into your business case. Thinking about how you can showcase the added value that you bring, because we're all individuals and we'll all have different strengths, different experiences that contribute to us doing our jobs really well. So think about, okay, if I left, what would they miss? What would the organization not have that I bring that's unique to me? So demonstrating your added value. And then obviously presenting the research that you have done. Thinking about, structuring your business case. You don't want a 12-page business case. You want to make it sharp and punchy, easy to read, that's got all the necessary information for them. But also within that, thinking about who are the decision makers. Okay, so is it your boss who's the decision maker, or are they going to have to take it sort of higher up the chain? Is HR going to be the decision maker? What information do the decision makers need, and making sure that that's put into your business case? Because you don't want them to say, well, we can't make a decision because we need more information. You want to preempt that so that your business case is really sound, really, grounded and full of the information that they need. And then also be thinking about who are the champions for me that I need to kind of get involved. So is my boss going to be my champion, because they're going to have to escalate this? So thinking about what's important to my boss, that I can also demonstrate that by paying me more, I'm going to be able to, solve more of their problems, make it easier for them. And I'm going to come on to the boss relationship in a minute, but also thinking about maybe HR is going to be my champion, because certainly HR will be involved in that salary discussion. They'll be thinking about precedent. They'll be thinking about their salary ranges. They'll be thinking about the budget. So getting HR involved in your business case can be quite useful. So if you've got a good relationship with your HR contact, your HR BP for your area, you can bounce it around with them. You could ask them for salary range information. You could even get them to have a look at your business case before you submit it to your manager, so that you're kind of getting their take on it, and they can be a really useful source of information in the organization. Going back to the relationship with your boss, if they are going to be your champion and they're either going to be the decision maker or they're going to have to champion you, thinking about the foundational work you can do in advance of putting your business case in terms of making sure you've got a good relationship with them, that you're having regular one-to-ones, that you're selling yourself in those one-to-ones, you're telling them about what you do, the challenges you navigate, the things that you've done that's added value, so they know your contribution. They're going to be able to sell in your contribution much easier because you've built that good foundation with them. So if you don't necessarily have a strong relationship with your boss now, but you're wanting to put in a business case, then thinking about building that relationship with them, and maybe bringing out more of what you do when you're having your one-to-ones with them will be really useful. And also you want to think about the best time to ask for a pay rise. So, if you've just delivered a great project for them, and they're really valuing your contribution, that can be a great time to then be having that pay rise discussion. Or, if maybe you're thinking about, okay, January, there's a lot of movement in the organisation, not worried about people leaving. Typically, it tends to be a bit of shift in people changing jobs in January. That might also be a good time when they're worried about retention. So thinking about your timing is really important too. And then practically, obviously, you want to book a meeting with your boss to talk about your business case. You don't want it to come as a surprise to them. So when you're booking a meeting, you want to give them a heads up that you want to have a salary discussion with them, so they're not feeling on the back foot or feeling defensive. They know what's coming. They know what you want to be talking to them about. Obviously, if you're thinking about negotiating a higher salary at offer stage, then you want to be making sure that you are really enthusiastic about the job that you're being offered, but maybe just saying you want to think about it. So don't obviously say yes until you've negotiated that salary increase, because you're in a much stronger position when they're wanting you haven't said yes yet, than if you've said yes to the job. So they know they've got you already. So timing is really important. And don't think at job offer stage, well, I'll maybe negotiate a salary increase when I've been there for 3 months and I've shown what I'm worth. You're already an employee then. Your power of negotiation is reduced. Job offer stage is really when you have the power to negotiate a higher salary or different benefits. So then the sort of fifth thing we need to think about is the emotional part of it. So the first thing is to acknowledge that you are feeling maybe a bit anxious, maybe a bit nervous about it, a bit scared about doing this, maybe excited as well. But, there are going to be emotions flooding around as you present that, that salary negotiation, whether it's with the potential employer or with your boss. So just knowing that, those nerves, those anxieties are going to come up, maybe naming them, talking them through with somebody first, even just practicing your pitch or what you're going to say can be really helpful, can take away some of that anxiety. And just knowing that actually there is a potential for rejection, but that's okay. This is about you in terms of your work. It's not about you as a person. And as always, we're going to talk about a backup plan in terms of rejection as well, but also thinking about what's the worst that could happen. It's not the end of the world if they say no. It just means you've got choices about what you do next. So just being able to position it in your mind as, okay, I'm going to have this conversation with my boss, and it could lead to something really positive, or it could lead to me rethinking things for myself. But it's not the end of the world. And also, I think there's something quite important to acknowledge as well in terms of the potential pension pay gap, particularly for women. This is super important to think about, whatever age you are, because the pension pay gap, gender pension pay gap, tends to be about 40%, which is huge, because typically women earn less because they don't have these salary negotiations or pay negotiation conversations as much as men do, and also women to take time out in their careers, so there is gaps when they can't contribute to their pension. So the pension pay gap can be up to 40% by the time you retire, which is significant. So what you can think about as a motivator is thinking about your future self and what they would want you to do in terms of this salary negotiation, because you do want to make sure that you are getting higher salaries throughout your career, so your pension pay gap is smaller, because obviously having a lower salary cumulatively contributes to that 40% pay gap. So thinking your 67-year-old self facing retirement wants you to have this conversation now and at all stages in your career. So every time you're being offered a new job, you want to be thinking about negotiating that salary. At regular points in your career, you want to be thinking about having a pay rise conversation with your boss, because you don't want to have that 40% pay gap. You want to be having the opportunity to have a great retirement as well as living well throughout your career. So hopefully that's kind of given you some motivation as well around having these conversations, because it's easy to put them off, to think maybe I won't do that now. Okay. So then obviously when you're in that conversation with your boss, you want to be calm remember, we've tried to take the emotion out of it. You want to talk them through your business case, which is why it needs to be short and punchy. You're obviously going to give them a written copy of your business case, but you want to talk them through it to explain your rationale, particularly if they're going to have to be your champion and represent you with other decision makers. And also not to expect an answer straight away. Okay, they're going to need to go away and think about it. They're going to go away and perhaps talk to people about it. But you do want to find out what their timescale is. Okay, so what's going to be the timescale for their decision? You don't want this hanging around for months. You want to know they're going to be able to come back to you within a specific time scale, and you want to keep them to that. Similarly, if you are, negotiating that at job offer stage, you want to know when they're going to be able to come back to you to let you know, because you might have other offers on the table. Okay, and then you want to think about having a backup plan. Sorry, the dog's going again. So obviously, if they say no, for whatever reason, that is definitely a possibility that they can't say no. They can't say yes, rather. You've got to think about what else would I accept if they can't say yes to me, because there is a bit of reciprocity going to kick in. So you've asked for something. If they can't say yes to it, they're going to feel like they want to give you something to keep you sweet. Okay, so this is your opportunity to think about, okay, what else might I accept? So those other things could be things like more flexibility. So you might say, okay, well, maybe could I work a 9-day fortnight? So I could work 5 days one week, 4 days the next week, but be paid for 10 days. Obviously, we don't want a salary reduction here, but they might be able to give you flexibility. Or it might be, actually, maybe they can increase their pension contribution to you, which obviously is financially valuable. Or maybe you want to ask them to fund some training for you. Maybe there's a qualification you want to do, or you want to increase your training pot. Sorry, I don't know why the dog's barking. Or, maybe you want to build in a review in 3 to 6 months' time. And certainly at job offer stage, you can think about all these things as well. If they can't say yes to your higher salary, maybe there's other things you want to negotiate with them at job offer stage. And then you also have to be clear with yourself is, would I leave? Or would I say no to that job if they're not going to meet my salary expectations? But obviously, you want to be thinking through that in a logical way, try and take the emotion out of that, of them saying no, and be really clear with yourself about what the other benefits are going to be to taking that new job if they can't meet your salary. Or if it's your existing job, be clear, you don't want to make a knee-jerk reaction of going, okay, if they're not saying yes to me, I'm just going to hand my notice and I'm going to leave. You want to obviously leave on your terms. So you want to be leaving for the right next role. You want to be, ending your time with that employer well. So you want to have a good relationship with your boss when you leave. You don't want to be leaving because they've said no. But obviously, it gives you a choice. If they're saying, no, we can't meet your salary expectations, things are tight for us now, we can't, do anything for at least another year, that gives you information about, okay, well, maybe I've got a choice to make then about whether I stay or go. But, thinking about what other things you might renegotiate, which don't always have to be financial. It might be about, okay, well, maybe I want to work on this particular kind of project, and maybe that will give you enough to make you feel valued enough to stay. So I hope that's given you food for thought. These kind of pay discussions, they are part of your personal development. They are about you doing that in a way that allows you to kind of know your worth and ask for it, to be assertive, and to, know that you have put yourself forward to get the kind of pay that you are worth in terms of what you're bringing, what you're delivering. So I do encourage you to do this, particularly if you're feeling that you're being underpaid in your current organisation for whatever reason, but thinking about it in both this kind of practical research business case way and also the kind of mindset way of managing your emotions, thinking about your relationship, thinking about who the decision makers are, and priming it for a successful outcome. So obviously I'm here to help if you need help with that at all. And I'd love to know, if you go for it, if you do ask for a pay rise and you're successful, do let me know. I'd love to hear how it went. And obviously, if you've got any questions about this, do pop them in the chat, or do, tag me in, message me directly. I'd be very happy to kind of give you a steer on it. So I'll be back next Wednesday, 12:15, for another session. So do join me next Wednesday as well, and have a great week. Thank you for joining me.